What's up, everybody? Mid-Major Matt here. As Ariel is on vacation, no doubt she chose this day because apparently she is not a fan of this day, to say the least. So she chose this day to start her vacation. And so here I am. It's not going to be the usual show that you are used to because I don't have a lot of the bells and whistles that she has for the show. But we're going to get into a whole bunch of stuff. Thank you, Joe. Thank you, Ted. Yes, that is a scary costume. I will explain myself in just a second because this is like part of my costume. But today on the show, we're going to talk through a lot of stuff. We're going to talk through the game tonight for the World Series. I posted a couple plays on my Twitter account at MidMajorMatt. If you follow me, you saw them already, but we'll talk through whatever you guys think and gals think for the game tonight. There's only one baseball game left and for today, and who knows, maybe one left for the rest of the season. So we'll talk through that. We'll do some college football. There's 3 games tonight. I'm not quite sure if Ariel sent out the newsletter yet, but there is going to be some thoughts on the games tonight. And then we'll talk about the games tomorrow. And then we'll do a little bit of NFL as well. This is only going to be about a 45-minute show or so. I have a Halloween party to get to. So certainly on the best day of the year, of course, I was going to have a party or something to get to. And we certainly want you involved. I know Ariel told me the number one thing is to make sure that the listeners are involved as much as possible. So certainly as you have questions for whatever, we will certainly get into that. So real quick, my costume, if you follow me on Twitter, I'm doing a song title costume and you're getting part of it. So if you notice, I got the headband, I've got these bands, wristbands, and I've got a running bib that I've created. But the part you don't see is I've got a little devilish character here that I'm going to put in my hood here next to me. I can't do it and have the headphones on, and I'm doing Running with the Devil. That's my costume for this year. I know, corny, but whatever. This is what happens. And all I'm doing tonight is walking around the neighborhood with some friends and their kids, and that's about it. So like I put some effort into it, and that is my costume for tonight. All right, so let's get into the World Series game tonight. I have not seen our Blue Jays fan friend yet. He was the guy who came in and he said he was going to laugh at me when I got my prediction wrong, which I did. I got my prediction wrong. I said Dodgers in 5. Clearly, that's not the case. I cannot win that prediction. I'm still rooting for the Dodgers, especially since Toronto's manager apparently said in his press conference before the game that he believes Halloween is the worst holiday and it's actually a fake holiday. So totally rooting against him now. But if you want to get into some of the props and stuff with regards to this game, looking at the numbers here for tonight, during the regular season, Ariel and I usually have this thing where we don't like playing anybody back to back. So if there's a starting pitcher who sees the same opponent two times in a row, unless you're playing one start in Colorado and one start at home, or unless you're a guy that has wild home and away splits, like I kind of stay away from it because it's hard for that first start to get replicated, which is why if you notice, and I wish I almost should have posted the graphic involving this, my 2 plays for tonight that I came up with, and they're both sprinkles. Like I don't love anything tonight, but I'm certainly getting involved because it could be the last baseball game of the season. I took under 6.5 strikeouts for Yamamoto. And I basically what I'm looking at here, and for those of you who get the spreadsheet, you can kind of see a lot of the statistics and everything that are involved with this. But if you look at so far what you have gotten from the Blue Jays is Blue Jays make a lot of contact. Yamamoto is the only guy in the postseason who has gone over 6 strikeouts so far against the Blue Jays. From the right side, Snell had just had 7. By the way, brutal loss if you had the under on Blake Snell's strikeouts because he had the number was 6.5. He got his 7th strikeout on the last batter of the game last time out. Those are so brutal. Yeah, as Joe has said that he's on the under too. Remember, he got 3 strikeouts in the 8th inning in that game. And I don't think he's going to go 8. I don't think he's going to throw a complete game. Look, he can certainly, if I lose this bet because Yamamoto throws his 3rd straight complete game and the Blue Jays can't get to him, then I tip my cap to Yamamoto and I take my loss and we move on. But I just don't think that we're going to get the same Yamamoto this time around. I think he's still going to pitch well. I still think maybe he gives up 2 runs. Maybe he goes 6 innings. I just don't see him going 9 innings. Now, the fascinating factor will be, are we going to see Shohei tonight? The manager basically talked about what he wants to do with regards to Shohei and basically said, like, they have to figure out the perfect way to put him in because in certain situations, they either lose the DH or they lose a position player. So he might have to go play the field. So I would imagine everybody outside of Blake Snell and Savage are available tonight for both teams. And heck, if they really wanted to get some innings out of, or a inning out of Savage, I guess they could. I'm guessing more so tomorrow night. But I just feel like we're going to get a really good Yamamoto tonight, but not a 9-inning complete game looking dominant Yamamoto. Good stat here from Uncle Ted. A 121 WRC plus at home. So now I'm going to admit this, and this is going to make me somewhat look ignorant, but like I don't understand a lot of those analytics. I am not so much of an analytics person. I know Ariel is, and certainly you can go to that props website that she uses, props.cash, for all of your great information. But I'm not as much into the WRC plus tonight. I just think it's going to be hard for him to replicate what he did last time out. I just really think it's going to be hard. So I took under on his strikeouts, and then I took under on his hits allowed because Yamamoto is the type of guy that spreads his hits out. If you look at a lot of his previous starts, this is a guy that basically doesn't give up a lot of hits. You know, the last couple of times that he's gotten into trouble, it's because he's given up some walks. You know, he had the 6-walk game back in September 18th against the Giants. He's given up some walks here. He had 2 walks against the Reds in this first start. He had a couple walks over his next 2 starts. Like, he can be a little bit wild. To say the least. But if you look, 4 hits allowed, 3 hits allowed, 6 hits allowed. That was the Phillies. I mean, rest in peace to my Phillies. But 4 hits allowed. Like, he does not give up a lot of hits. Like, this is a guy that if he is going to give up anything and struggle, it would be on the walk side. Now, Joe asks, do I like his over on his walks? So those who follow me know I've lost twice already in the walks market. I don't usually play the walks market, but I've lost twice already. I had the Gossman over on his walks, and I had the Scherzer over on his walks. And of course, that's when the Dodgers were not as patient, and I don't think they had a walk in either. Oh no, excuse me. That's right. And Scherzer, he had 1 walk, and Will Smith swung at ball 4 in that game. So I should have had 2 walks, but I didn't. So Joe, I don't do the walks market as much. Listen, in the first start, he had none, and that kind of concerns me a little bit here. So I don't love his walks market, but I think that he's going to struggle, and I'm using quotes here, aka he's not going to pitch as well as he did last time. He's not going to do a complete game shutout. I just don't see it. I just do not see it here. So I think that Yamamoto, that's why I'm taking his his strikeouts under and his hits allowed under. Now, I don't like necessarily playing 2 straight props that kind of correlate to what could happen. You know, I think Yamamoto's strikeouts under means he's probably only going to go 6 innings, which means he probably will go under his hits allowed. Usually I like to either play one prop going in one direction. Maybe he pitches great and I win this prop. And if he pitches badly, I win this prop. This time I'm kind of banking on him not being as good. And as I said earlier, if he pitches really well, then I tip my cap and I take my 0-2 and we move on. The Gausman side of things. Gausman is a fascinating pitcher because there are times where he just looks ordinary and there are other times where he looks great. Like, look, he is a 34-year-old pitcher. At times he looks like he's 34 years old. If you go back to his first start against the Dodgers, 6 2/3, he had 6 strikeouts, 3 earned runs allowed, 4 hits. He allowed 2 home runs. But they let him go 6 2/3 innings. I don't think, Gausman's going 6 2/3 tonight. That's why you see that Gausman's outs are, and I'm looking to see what his updated number is, 50.5 with the juice slightly to the over. That's what I'm seeing on DraftKings. By the way, someone mentioned the outs on Yamamoto. I see 19.5 on DraftKings. I see 19.5 with the plus to the over. So if you like the over 20.5, over 19.5 with plus money to the over, that's your bet there. That's your bet there. I'm so mad that we lost. The moneymaker for me early in the postseason was the outs over for all the Dodgers pitchers. Like in the last series against the Brewers, the outs over was a moneymaker almost every single time because they kept setting 50 and a half, 60 and a half, and the Dodgers pitchers were going 6 innings. It was great. Now, of course, with there being only one series left, the books have kind of taken that away here. And I'm not looking at his over 19 and a half here. I think he goes 6 tonight. I think he goes 6. And then who knows what happens with the Dodgers after that? Who knows? I mean, here's the thing. Sasaki hasn't pitched as much in this series. You could probably get 2 out of Sasaki. So then you just need 1 inning. And I don't know necessarily where they go to that inning. Do they go to Shohei? Do they go 6 with Yamamoto? 7th is Shohei. And then Sasaki for the 8th and the 9th? I mean, I think that's a possibility. That's the best of everything you need. And then you just go into game 7. You're like, all right, everybody's available. Everybody's available. By the way, if you missed it, it looks like Max Scherzer will start a game 7. His outs number will be fascinating. His outs number will be fascinating. If it's too low, I'm taking the over. If it's too high, I'm taking the under. I think Scherzer goes 4 if we get to a game 7. I haven't seen yet who's going to go game 7 for the Dodgers. I assume it's Glasnow. I mean, I'm assuming it would be Glasnow because it would be his turn in the rotation. But Max Scherzer in game 7 is, I believe in Max Scherzer. I think he gives them a really good 4 innings. So I'll be fascinated if we get there, what the books hang as his outs number. I'll be interested to see. Yeah, Joe agrees. Mad Max in game 7. You know, look, he's over 40, but he's got great stuff. And, yeah, I think Scherzer starts and goes 4 innings. I think that's what's going to happen. I think the Dodgers win tonight. I think that they win a low-scoring game. I just feel like this series is destined for 7 games and all the drama that comes with 7 games. I don't love the fact that the Dodgers are making all these lineup changes. Mookie Betts is now hitting cleanup. Rojas is in the lineup tonight, so they're making all these changes, trying to figure things out. And that scares me a little bit because this is a Dodgers team that pretty much you had a lineup, you just set it and forget it. It was, for a couple weeks, or for a couple, everything. You just basically sat there and said, this is what the lineup is. Joe likes the under 4 for the first 5. I don't hate it. I think that you're playing that because you assume that Yamamoto is going to do his part and the Dodgers aren't going to score enough against Gausman that you're going to have to worry about it. I almost would consider, and let's look at Gausman's numbers first time through the order. Gausman's first time through the order, teams are hitting 211, 260 on base percentage. You could almost reduce that bet down to 3. You can almost do under 2.5 for the first 3. And then you have to sweat even less. I don't know. That's just something I would certainly consider. Gausman's numbers here. He is 15.5 for the outs, and he is 5. Wow. So this is hilarious. So I'm on DraftKings' page right now. I literally was just there a second ago. It was 4.5 over at -170. It is now 5.5 under at -165. You think about these markets here. These markets move because I feel like people like Ariel and I and some of the others are like really embracing the prop market. And that's why it's important to get in early on some of these bets and get the best number possible because these things move. And this is the other reason why that certainly you want to have a lot of outs. And I don't know how much she talks about it, but it's something I believe in. I have 5 or 6 different sports books. I'm in the process. I'm going to add Prize Picks using the promo code Prop Queen now that Prize Picks has joined the podcast. I have like 5 or 6 outs, and every book is different with regards to the juice. Every book is different with regards to the number. And so that's why you got to have multiple outs so you can get the best you can. But that literally changed in the last 90 seconds. And if you sit there and watch it long enough, you'll see that it's going to keep changing. It's -165 to the under 5.5. The other reason why I like DraftKings is they have the either pitcher strikeouts market or the combined pitcher strikeouts market. If you think one pitcher is going to carry the number, you can get a decent number on like over 12 strikeouts combined between the two of them. That's why I like DraftKings because they have a lot of the markets that as a prop guy, I'm certainly going to get involved in. But yeah, I'm not involved in any Yamamoto or Gausman props. I think he has more of a chance to get shelled tonight than Yamamoto does. His hits number is 4.5. He is a guy that also has had a walk issue. If you look at his postseason so far, he had 3 walks in each start against Seattle. In the last 2 starts against Seattle, he had 3 walks apiece. So he's a guy that you may not give up a lot of hits. Like, that's the thing. When I was playing the hits market earlier in the season, I would play guys who would give up a lot of base runners, and they just walk a lot of guys, and I'd lose my hits allowed under, or my hits allowed over, excuse me. So I stopped playing the hits allowed market because it was just too frustrating and too annoying. But like, Gausman's a guy that will ruin your hits allowed over because he walks a lot of guys, or can walk a lot of guys. So yeah, I'm not playing anything Gausman. He's going to be all over the place tonight in terms of, like, I think he could be awesome. I think he could be terrible. If you're looking for hitters to take advantage with, Mookie Betts obviously has good numbers against him. Max Muncy has 4 homers against Gausman, 7 of 21 with 4 homers and 7 strikeouts, 6 walks. So that's a guy you might want to take a look at. Shohei has bad numbers against Gausman, 2 for 15. 2 for 15 against Shohei with 6 strikeouts. So he has good numbers against him, but like, this is game 6 Shohei. So who knows what's happening. This is part of my Halloween costume. It's not completely, sorry, Nate, this is part of it. So yeah, Betts in the cleanup role should be really interesting. They're trying to figure out how to get him going. He wasn't doing well at number 2. So they moved him down, and now he's in the cleanup role tonight. And of course, yes, Joe's right with Vladdy, and Joe Dollar has over 1.5 hits, runs, and RBIs with Will Smith tonight. Will Smith also has good numbers, 4 of 13, a homer, 4 RBIs, 3 strikeouts. So he's got really good numbers. The interesting thing for Will Smith is batting second. He doesn't have as many opportunities potentially for RBIs, although you figure in certain situations, especially if the game's tight, Shohei's getting walked, and if Will Smith can bring him around, that's a good way to get some cheap runs or cheap RBIs. So Will Smith is certainly somebody that you can take a look at. And then look, obviously, Yamamoto pitched so well last game. Like, nobody has really good numbers against Yamamoto right now on Toronto. I mean, you have 1 game's worth of stats to look at. That's pretty much it. So if you want to find something out of that group, great. If not, then probably wouldn't look at that side other than Vlad Guerrero, which, by the way, and I can't bet on this in the state of Virginia, so I don't know what the market looks like right now. I mean, Vlad Guerrero is probably going to win the MVP. So my guess is, if you like Vlad Guerrero tonight to do something, I would weigh the price of taking something like that against the price of him being the MVP for the World Series. Because if he does really well, chances on Toronto is going to win, and if Toronto wins, he's going to be the MVP. It's kind of like the Heisman, or kind of like some of the other bets, MVP bets and stuff like that. Like, if you think somebody's going to do really well, look at their price for the series or for the season and maybe take advantage of it that way. But in Virginia, we can't bet on certain things. It's really weird. So like, I don't know. I'm happy we have legalized sports betting here in Virginia, but we can't bet on the Virginia schools, and we can't bet on player awards. So that's why, if you notice on my Twitter account, I have bets on the Heisman, but that was from when I went back home to Pennsylvania. We're sitting on a Fernando Mendoza 60-1 ticket right now. That's looking pretty good. With regards to that, he's 1 or 2 in a lot of places. All right. So if you have anything else that you want to discuss for tonight's game, certainly let's bring it up. But I would certainly be ready to move on to some of the college football stuff. You could also take a look at some of the other player props. If you think the Dodgers are going to win the series, I would just do money line bets, roll the money lines each game instead of taking them to win the series. Like, if you think that they're going to win this series, weigh the price of what the money line is tonight and the price of the money line tomorrow, and how much you would get if you rolled tonight into tomorrow versus what the price is for the series. I have a feeling it would probably be more profitable to bet on the series price because the Dodgers are favored tonight. And I don't know, Gausman versus Scherzer, Glasnow versus Scherzer tomorrow probably could be a minus 110 tomorrow. Or it could be a very tightly lined game tomorrow. So that is my thoughts on this. Anybody else have anything on the baseball game? If not, we'll move on to the college football tonight. which I think is very interesting tonight, to say the least, because there are 3 games in college football. We'll do a little bit on the college football games tonight. I don't know if Ariel sent out the newsletter. For those of you who subscribe to the newsletter, it's very cheap. It's like $7. You get my thoughts on all the weekend games that the spots to watch, and certainly some situations that you can take a look at. We gave out a winner last night, Tulane over 3.5 touchdowns. They lost the game, but they went over 3.5 touchdowns because they had 4. All right. It looks like nobody else has anything on the baseball game, so let's move to college football. And if I had some sort of like stinger or something, I would be like, all right, whoosh, college football. Let's talk college football. That is my number one sport. So let's get into the 3 games tonight. First off, Memphis and Rice. Memphis and Rice is really interesting because spot-wise, this is a flat spot potentially for Memphis, and I would have mentioned this in the newsletter. Memphis is coming off the win over USF, a huge win. It made them ranked. It gave them the opportunity to move to the head of the line when it comes to the G5 playoff berth. Like, they've had a great week. Now they get a short week to prepare for a Rice team that plays a modified triple option. Modified. And it's been really good, and it's been really bad. Rice is coming off of the overtime victory over UConn. They had a bye week before then. I like this Rice team a lot. I think that if their defense gets slightly better, I think they could be a bowl eligible team right now. I kind of like them a little bit tonight. Because I think tonight, this is a Rice team that you need a full week to prepare for. And if Memphis has Tulane next week, and that's a huge game too. Like, USF and Tulane are 2 teams that they're fighting for a G5 playoff berth with. And in between, then you hit the road to Houston, Texas to play a Rice team on Halloween as a 2-touchdown favorite. I don't think Rice wins tonight. And I can't decide if the better bet is Rice plus 14 or Rice over 16.5. But I think Rice can make things interesting tonight. I do think a lot of points could be scored. Rice's defense is brutal. If Memphis is focused tonight, they could put up 40. So I kind of like the over a little bit too, but that's my thoughts on that game. Second game, and I already saw the tweet here, the message from Josh Gold. Syracuse versus North Carolina. So I'm a Syracuse alum. 0 interest in watching this game tonight. 0 interest in betting on this game tonight. I'm not even making an emotional hedge bet tonight. Like, I'm not doing that. I don't believe in this Syracuse team at all. If you missed it, they literally just announced like 20 minutes ago, 30 minutes ago, they're starting a true freshman quarterback who is also a lacrosse player. Like, there's no film on this guy, and I have no idea. He could be awesome, in which case I'd be annoyed that he wasn't starting, or they could be handing the ball off a lot and giving him a very simple game plan and lose because they don't trust the kid to do a lot. But it is a true freshman starting for Syracuse tonight. North Carolina, I said in the show last week, I said it in the newsletter, I thought they would cover or win against Virginia last week. They did. But then I said if they lost that game, that was it. I was done betting on North Carolina. They lost by an inch. If you missed it, they didn't get the 2-point conversion in overtime. They fell like an inch short, and they lost the game. I don't know what we're going to get from North Carolina. I think that they're going to be ready to quit and end the season. I think some of them could be tired of listening to Belichick already, but like, don't bet this game tonight. I can't. I can't recommend anything in this game. I mean, money came in on North Carolina since the name of the quarterback for Syracuse. Like, I can't do anything with that. And then Louisiana Tech and Sam Houston. Oh, this is an interesting game. So Sam Houston hasn't won yet this year. And so when it gets down to like the last 4 games of the season or so, I like fading those teams as much as possible. Sam Houston State, what was the statistic I had? I had a statistic in the newsletter. Sam Houston State has something allowed like 33 of 36 opposing red zone trips to turn into points. They've stopped teams in the red zone 3 times. They have like one of the worst red zone percentages themselves offensively in the country. Like, I don't know what this team is doing in terms of, practice. I don't think they practice. I really don't. So what I recommended in the newsletter was taking Louisiana Tech's team total over and taking Sam Houston State's team total under. Now, as we've talked about on the show, I am willing to pay a little bit more juice-wise to get a better number. So I'm looking now. So Louisiana Tech's number is 31.5. I would almost tease it down to 30.5 just to get that extra, that way if it's 4 touchdowns and a field goal, you win. It is minus 150. And Sam Houston's number is 15.5. You could move that to 16.5, and it's minus 125 to the under. So that's just me personally. I'm the kind of guy who likes to give myself a little bit more protection, try and get those even numbers the best I can. Sometimes you just can't, or sometimes you have to pay a lot of juice to do that. And so you could do 17.5 with Sam Houston. I don't think they're going to get 17.5 tonight, but the under is minus 175, and that's all about personal preference. If you're not a person who takes those things at minus 175, then don't do it. But if you want the ultimate protection of 2 touchdowns and a field goal and you still win, take the under 17.5 at minus 175. But tonight, this game feels like Louisiana Tech scores a lot. Sam Houston does not score a lot. And that's how I would play the game for tonight. So those are the 3 games. I know, what is it, Jermaine? You're going to ask me about the FCS game tonight. I don't know. Penn's a favorite over Brown. Northern Arizona is a favorite over Idaho. I feel like Idaho usually has a pretty good team, but I have not looked at those team totals. All right. Joe asks about the Syracuse team total under. Sure. 23.5 on DraftKings is minus 135. 24.5 is minus 170. I just don't know how they're going to move the ball offensively. Like, North Carolina's defense is okay. It's not bad. It's not great. It's okay. But like, what am I getting from a freshman quarterback, a true freshman quarterback? I don't know. I do not know. They could be great and they could go over that rather easily, or they could hand the ball off and do run, pass, run, pass, and it's an absolute disaster. And then they end up taking the kid out anyway. So I just say, Joe, stay away from the game. Stay away from it completely. Watch it if you want to watch it, and then make a live bet on it and see what the kid's doing, see what the game plan looks like. That you could do. But I don't have anything pregame other than the tiers that I'm going to have because my alma mater was so good last year, and now they're back to being terrible. All right, let's do a little bit of college football here for Saturday. If you have any games you want me to touch on for Saturday, we can certainly do that. I can give you some of my thoughts on some of the random ones that I like. I have not put out my official plays yet, by the way. I did put into the app. I'm on the Action Network app. If you want to track me, it's at midmajormatt_. The underscore at the end, I don't know. They created my name. I didn't do that. But I did put in the under 10.5 for Minnesota and Michigan State. I did pay minus 170. I do want the protection there. The first quarter under for Minnesota lost last week because Minnesota was brutal in the first quarter against Iowa, a team who barely scores in the first quarter. But it's a trend, as I said. I always continue to play it. I like the under 10.5. We'll see what happens. Weird things happen with those things. Like a kickoff return for a touchdown, you're in peril really early. But it's a trend the last 3 years that I've played a lot, and I've won a lot more than I've lost. So I do like the under first quarter for the Minnesota game. All right, let's go to a couple of questions here. Nate asked about the Vanderbilt-Texas game. So we don't 100% know what Arch Manning's status is for the game tomorrow. It looks like, from all the reports today, it looks like he is going to play. He has practiced, but he hasn't officially left concussion protocol. I say wait till the morning to find out. And here's the thing. I am a little more interested in Vanderbilt if Arch plays. If he doesn't play, I think I like Texas. It's one of those things where I think the line, if you want to bet Vanderbilt, I think you wait until Arch Manning gets announced in, and then the number's going to go up and you're going to get some value. If you like Texas, wait and see if Arch Manning gets taken out, and then wait for that number to come back down and you'll get a better number. So I wouldn't play anything in that game until we know officially what the deal is with Arch Manning. Uncle Ted asks about Miami and SMU. So this is a really weird line to me. SMU is getting downgraded because they lost at Wake Forest in a spot that no one really thought they were going to play great. You know, this is one of those look-ahead spots where SMU was clearly paying attention to Miami. This game means a whole lot more to SMU than Wake Forest does. Noon start time, which I believe is only a 1 hour difference. So that I think that'll be something here. And look, noon games are always interesting because who knows who gets ready for these games? Noon games are, you know, one side could be a lot more excited, a lot more ready to go than the other side because of how early it is. The student section in the stands could be not as good. The fans could be not as good. So who knows? It's a large number here, and we still haven't had our Mario Cristobal coaching screw up yet. Every year he's good for one of them at least. It hasn't come yet. I don't know if it's going to come on Saturday, but to me, face value, and I don't know if I'm going to play this game, face value, it seems like that's a lot of points for SMU. Now, SMU's passing defense is, at one point last week, they were the worst in the country. Their secondary is bad. So if you want to play some sort of Carson Beck prop, I would totally be for it. Carson Beck should be able to do whatever he wants in this situation, and I'm going to look real quick because we do have a couple games tomorrow that has a little bit of wind or weather issues. So Dallas, it looks like 60 degrees, 20% chance of rain around that time. Should be decent weather. So I think Carson Beck props come into play because I think he should be able to throw. The game plan should be Malachi Toney to score a touchdown. Malachi Toney to score a touchdown could be in play too. He could have a huge game for Miami against that secondary. So that is something there. All right, let's see this one. UAB plus 10.5 is a money line play. What am I missing versus UConn? UAB is better because Trent Dilfer's gone. I still don't think they're a great team because they're Trent Dilfer's players. But Alex Mortensen, who is Chris Mortensen's son, he did a really good job. The first game he won. And so, I think there's some momentum there. That is a lot of points for UConn to cover. It's also a noon game. I'll tell you this, and this is just a personal thing. I don't like playing noon games at all. I have a terrible record the past couple of years in noon games. So unless I absolutely love something, I kind of skip over a lot of the noon games. I don't know if you have your own superstitions or stuff like that, but UAB doesn't know who their quarterback's going to be. It's either going to be Ryder Burton or it's going to be Jalen Kitna. I think Kitna is a better option, but Burton played really well in his last game, so we'll see what happens. UAB's offense should score some points, but their defense is brutal. That could be a really high-scoring game. And then Arizona State plus 7.5 against Iowa State. So Arizona State's number is high because their starting quarterback is out for the season, Sam Leavitt. He is done. I believe I saw today he's having surgery, so he's out for the season. Jeff Sims, the former Georgia Tech quarterback, is in at starting quarterback. We also don't know about Jordan Tyson, their number one wide receiver. Jordan Tyson is a really good wide receiver for Arizona State. So those two reasons, that's why this number is really large. I'm looking real quick. It doesn't say anything about Jordan Tyson's status, although this says he is unlikely to play. Without both of them, Arizona State's offense just isn't as good. Now, Iowa State last week had a great opportunity to play BYU off the Holy War at home. They were up in the first half. BYU outscored them in the second half and ran away for the victory. So who knows where Iowa State's head's at. But that's the reason why that number is high, is because the quarterback and the wide receiver are both most likely out for the game. All right. Let's see this one. Does Utah cover the big spread against Cincinnati Saturday night? So for those who are not familiar, I love Kyle Whittingham. Utah's head coach is arguably one of my favorite head coaches in America, other than Fran Brown and Casey Keeler, the two teams I like. I love Kyle Whittingham. I think he's a great coach. Last week I was down on Utah. I thought they'd be hung over after the loss in the Holy War, and they destroyed Colorado. And that was with the freshman quarterback. We don't know if the freshman quarterback is going to play again. We don't know if Devon Dampier is going to play this time. So we don't know what the quarterback situation is for Utah. I like Cincinnati. Brendan Sorsby is a guy who's had a really good season for the Bearcats, and he's a guy who could beat you on the ground and beat you through the air. The problem for Cincinnati's offense is their number one running back is out for this game, but their backup quarterback's really good. He was the running back at Wisconsin. So I don't know why this is such a high number, but I kind of like Cincinnati. They're vulnerable in certain spots on defense. But I think Cincinnati can keep it close. Now, I tried to fade Utah last week and it didn't work out, but that is a large number. I think a lot of it is, that Utah looked so good last week. I think that's what it is. Let's see what else. Okay, we'll do this one. Maryland, Indiana. You have a feeling Maryland can cover the spread and the first half under. So here's my thing. Let's just say this. Curt Cignetti knows the spread, and Curt Cignetti wants to run it up on everybody. And it's very dangerous, as people will tell you from last year with Penn State and what James Franklin did very late in games to get covers. It's very dangerous to go up against a coach who knows the spread and knows what he wants to do in terms of covering the spread. Curt Cignetti's one of those guys. Lane Kiffin's another one of those guys. James Franklin, when he had a job, was one of those guys. Like, there's certain coaches who know the spread and want to cover everything for their team. So, like, if you think Maryland's going to cover, that's great. Here's my thing. Like, it would have been a look-ahead spot with the game at Penn State next week. Penn State's terrible now, so Indiana should go into Happy Valley and win that game. So I don't think it's as much of a look-ahead spot as it was. Maryland has played several close games at home. If you remember, before they started playing some road games, Maryland had Washington and Nebraska at home, blew fourth quarter leads and lost both of those games. They did cover them, but they lost those games in the end. To me, and the thing I've done a lot this season is I've played Indiana team total overs. They have a quarterback who's trying to get the Heisman. They have a coach who's trying to get the cover. And there's been very few offenses so far or defenses who've been able to slow them down. So listen, if you've done the research and you think Maryland can cover, that's great. I just would not get involved with anything on the Indiana side because I think they can cover, and I think they're going to score a lot of points. I'm probably going to put Indiana's team total or touchdown market in my card for tomorrow. It's just been something I've made a lot of money on. The other thing to watch here is looks like some wind gusts, 15 to 25 mile per hour wind gusts could be involved in that game. All right, let's see. What else do we have here? Joe on Twitter is asking about the Navy team total. The only way to play Navy team totals are overs. North Texas. So here's how I kind of see that game. I feel like that game's an over, and that game might be the best game of the day or one of the best games of the day. North Texas's defense is improved, but Navy's offense is so much more improved than it has been. And I think Navy scores a lot of points. I think they might do some more clock grinding drives, whereas North Texas gets their points through explosives. Navy's team total is 28.5. I would almost buy it down to 27.5. You can get it on DraftKings at -145. That way, if Navy does score 4 touchdowns, you win. And if they only score 4 touchdowns, then you win at 27.5. You lose at 28.5. But I think Navy should score, and I think North Texas should score. I'm obviously rooting for Navy. I've got Navy's season win total over. They're 7-0, and I need 2 more wins. Could be tough with the remaining schedule that they have. They play at North Texas, at Notre Dame. They play Memphis still. They play South Florida still, and they play Army still. Army still. So I need 2 more wins somewhere there. I hope Navy wins over North Texas, but that's going to be a lot of fun. That game is going to be a lot of fun. All right, what else you got? We're going to do about another 5-10 minutes and then wrap things up. If you have any NFL prop questions, we can certainly do some of that as well. I don't necessarily have a rundown for anything, but I was just kind of, flying off the cuff a little bit here to, give you the information and the stuff that I know a lot about. So if you have more questions about anything, we can certainly do that for about 10 more minutes if you want to do that. Another thing I kind of like spot-wise, like Kansas State plus the touchdown. Kansas State, Avery Johnson's really hot right now. He's got almost 900 yards of offense, and he's got like 10 touchdowns and 1 or 2 interceptions the last 3 games. Texas Tech coming off of the last game. They are getting their starting quarterback back, it looks like. They lost their backup quarterback for the season, but they also have a huge home game against BYU next week. Huge home game against BYU, which could decide a lot of things involving the conference championship and potentially the playoff berths as well. Now they're hitting the road to play Kansas State. Down this year is Kansas State a little bit. Manhattan, Kansas. I kind of like Kansas State as long as you can get 7 or 7.5 in that situation. That's another game that I'm looking at here. There are some 7.5s out there. Looks like FanDuel has a 7.5. Looks like Hard Rock has a 7.5. ESPN Bet has a 7.5. Fanatics has a 7.5 as well. That was something I was kind of looking at. And then let me see. The other thing I was kind of looking at, and this is kind of a spite bet because Buffalo has put me through misery so far this season. I kind of like Bowling Green money line. Buffalo has been miserable this season to watch. Buffalo has been miserable this season to be involved with. They nearly lost to Kent State. They nearly lost to UMass. They did lose last week to Akron. Bowling Green is coming off of a loss to Kent State. They're very low right now, but they're returning home. Buffalo hasn't been on the road for a couple weeks. They haven't played very well. I guess this is somewhat of an emotional hedge off of the Buffalo over 7.5 wins that is in a lot of trouble if you follow me on Twitter. But I think Bowling Green's the better team here. I don't trust this Buffalo team on the road. Their offense has been inconsistent. Their defense has been inconsistent. So that is something else I kind of looked at. Now, the thing is, I don't know if I'm going to play it or not. It is a noon game. I hate noon games. I hate Buffalo, though, this season, what they've done to me so far. So that is something else I am kind of looking at. All right. Anything else with regards to college football? We'll do a little bit of NFL. So as you know, I am the self-deemed kicker whisperer. I like to bet on the field goal kickers. And I'm mad at myself for last night. I looked at Riley Patterson's over for his field goals, and I didn't play it. But Baltimore is towards the bottom in field goal attempts allowed. They're tied for the most right now with Philadelphia. 2.8 field goal attempts per game now for Baltimore. I'm mad at myself because the number said play Riley Patterson, but I just I couldn't do it last night because I didn't know what we were going to get from Miami. Good point here, Joe. So I put in the newsletter. Oklahoma State's done. So when we get towards the end of the season, as I said, I like to fade teams who have nothing to play for. Oklahoma State had their bump. They had their coach get fired. They covered the game afterwards. But like on the road, every single game that they play, I'm looking at the opponent's team total over. Kansas, the last 4 games after losing in the Sunflower Showdown to Kansas State, has scored like 45 points or more in every one of the games. Like Kansas's offense after losing to Kansas State the next week has been awesome, explosive to say the least. I think Kansas puts up a lot of points. I think Oklahoma State might actually put up some points. I don't like Kansas's defense, which is even better because that means Kansas will stay active and interested for longer. But I like the Kansas team total over. I think Oklahoma State is definitely done. I really do. I think Oklahoma State is like Oklahoma State. Kent State's still trying. UMass, I think, is close to being that team that you can fade every week. Like it's just there's a lot of teams as we get to the end of the season. When you're bad, like you're ready to go into the offseason. Like that's it. And Oklahoma State is definitely one of those teams. All right. Joe asks about the Bears this weekend. The Bears this weekend are in Cincinnati taking on the Bengals. If you missed it, DeAndre Swift is out. So Monangai, the Rutgers running back, probably going to start. Here's my thing. As we have here, you really only play overs in Bengals games. You really only play overs in those games because their offense is good. Now, wait, the one thing you want to wait for here potentially is if Joe Flacco's playing. If Flacco's playing, love the over. If Flacco's not playing, Jake Browning, they were brutal with Jake Browning. They were absolutely terrible with Jake Browning. I'm looking at the weather for Sunday too. No wind, slight chance for rain. I would wait a little bit and see because Joe Flacco makes a huge difference. If Flacco plays, I like the over. If Flacco doesn't play, as funny as it may be, I might actually consider the under. Maybe. I don't know if I have the stomach for something like that, but I might consider the under. I'm not a Caleb Williams guy. I think Caleb Williams is okay. Obviously, Ben Johnson doesn't love Caleb Williams. So I would wait and see what Joe Flacco's status is and then kind of go off of that. If he plays, there probably will be a lot of points. If he doesn't play, Cincinnati may struggle. All right. The chat is talking a lot about Denver and Houston. I don't know how the Texans are doing it. Like, I really don't. I get it. Their defense is good and they're getting victories. I don't know how the Texans are doing it this season. I really don't. If you look at some of their wins so far, I mean, I think a lot of it's probably because of the defense. They gave up 15 to the 49ers. They gave up 10 to the Ravens. Of course, I don't think that was the Lamar Jackson Ravens. They held the Titans scoreless. They held the Jaguars to 17, the Buccaneers to 20, the Rams to 14. Like the defense is legit. I watched this Denver team when they went to Philadelphia and they should have lost that game, but the Eagles made some mistakes. But like, I was impressed with what Bo Nix did on the road. You're right, though. Houston probably shouldn't be favored, but obviously they get a bump because of home field advantage. My only question for this is, if it's so obvious to take Denver, why aren't they favored? And why is it that this line has gone from a pick 'em to 1.5 and a 2 on Fanatics and a 2.5 on Circa if you're in Vegas. My goodness. Like, ask yourself that question, because this is the sharpest market of all. This is the sharpest market of all sports. If you bet the NFL, you know what you're doing. So why is it that if Denver's the clear, easy side, why isn't the money going there? And why aren't they favored by now? That's my question. Patrick Surtain not playing for the Broncos. That's huge. He's going to miss, it looks like, a couple weeks. Marvin Mims Jr. is not playing. He's got a concussion. So, Denver is not exactly 100% entering this game. So that's my thought here. I wouldn't play Denver only because I'm afraid as to why Denver isn't favored yet. That's all. Now, maybe the line move on Sunday morning is towards Denver, and this line, flips, and maybe they're a favorite by start time. But right now, why aren't they favored? Look at Houston. Their defense, it's probably an under, maybe, if you believe in that Houston defense. But 40s and 40.5, like, that's, freak points, turnovers, stuff like that, short fields. That's how you lose an under in that. But, like, I'm just saying, why isn't Denver favored if everybody thinks that Denver's the better team, which they probably are? All right, let's close on this one. Joe's asking about Kansas City and Buffalo. It's the regular season. Buffalo usually wins this game, right? Like, that's how this kind of goes. Buffalo wins the regular season. Kansas City wins in the postseason. And, obviously this game's important for where that game might be in the postseason. Kansas City is one of the hottest teams. I don't trust Buffalo's defense at all. Like, I certainly don't think that Buffalo's defense is something that I want to back. So if I'm playing this game potentially, I'm looking at some sort of over, whether it's a Buffalo Bills over or it's a team total over or something like that. I just don't trust this Buffalo defense. And to see Buffalo as a home underdog, it's another question of, why is Buffalo the home underdog? Probably because Kansas City looks the best of almost any team in the league. I'm looking at the weather here because, obviously, look, this is the time we got to look for weather. There is no rain and there is no wind. Very little wind. About 5 mile per hour wind gusts. That's not enough to affect anything. It's the regular season. I usually look to Buffalo's side. This is the regular season. Patrick Mahomes, though, has been awesome. Maybe look at a Patrick Mahomes touchdown over. That's something you could potentially look at. As M. Rojas says, this is a Kareem Hunt game. Remember, no Isaiah Pacheco. I would think this is a Brashard Smith game receiving-wise. This feels like an opportunity. They've been using him a little bit here and there. They've been using him, and I think they're kind of setting up some things with Brashard Smith out there. So I almost would believe that maybe this is Brashard Smith's game. And maybe you look at his props. I could pull up what some of the numbers are for Brashard Smith, but like, if his snap count is going to go up, and a lot of the plays that they run with him feel like they're setting up something else. Now, his rushing yards is 18.5. I don't know if I'm ready to do that yet, but his receiving yards, 18.5 on FanDuel, 19.5 on Caesars, 20.5 on BetMGM. I might be interested in some sort of Brashard Smith receiving props because they like him a lot. And he played when Kareem Hunt or Isaiah Pacheco was active. Now that Isaiah Pacheco is not active, the snap count is going to go up for Brashard Smith. I always like playing the offbeat guys in these props because I feel like, it's funny. BetMGM puts up a lot of props for guys who are like the third or fourth wide receiver, but I feel like half the time they do that and they don't really do a lot of research on it. I feel like that's where I find a lot of my value is the third wide receiver, the fourth wide receiver, like Jalen Noel for Houston. He had a lot of value because people were underselling him. I was mad last night. I believe I lost my Keaton Mitchell rushing under. It was like 10.5 or 11.5. I don't think he went over. I think he had 7. But like, I find some value on the off guys, the ones that don't get talked about enough, because the books, I feel like, just hang numbers on those guys and say, all right, who's betting on this guy anyway? And hey, it's me. I'm the one betting on those guys. So that's kind of my thoughts there. All right. Anybody else have anything else that they want to touch on? I will be back on Monday. I will have more of a rundown on Monday. Don't worry about it. I didn't really necessarily have a rundown. Monday show, we'll do Monday Night Football. We'll do some NBA stuff. And oh yeah, by the way, Monday starts college basketball. So we'll certainly talk some college basketball on Mondays. That's for sure. Yes, M. Rojas is right. Like you just don't get a lot of opportunities to bet them because some books are scared. I think FanDuel doesn't put up a lot of players, I feel like. DraftKings does at times, and BetMGM, I noticed, has put up a lot of those other guys. So, like, that's another reason why having multiple outs gives you an opportunity to take advantage of some of those things, to say the least. All right, that's going to wrap things up. Hopefully, I didn't mess up too much. I appreciate everybody who is watching. Certainly go to Prize Picks, and they are the brand new sponsor for the show. Use the Prop Queen promo code. There's all sorts of stuff that you can get with using Prop Queen promo code. And as I said, Monday, we'll do Monday Night Football. I will do some research and find some NBA stuff for you. And then we'll do some college basketball stuff. And Joe, yes, I see your comment here. I will have some college basketball futures for the show Monday. I'm not ready for it yet. I got to do some research this weekend, and I will come back with that. Enjoy your Halloween. Don't eat all your kids' candy, and make sure to have some fun because tonight is the best night, despite what the title of the podcast says. Ariel's wrong there. And I will see everybody on Monday. We'll also have Jared Block. I believe that's his name. The guy who usually is on Monday after me as a guest. We'll put something together there, so he will join the show on Monday as well. Enjoy your weekend. Thanks, everybody, for listening.